No matter who you love, all are welcome in this place. No matter how you look, no matter what you believe, all are blessed with heavenly grace. We're standing up for justice. We're lifting hands in praise. We try to follow love's example. All are welcome in this place. All are blessed with heavenly grace. We're standing up for justice. We're lifting hands in praise. We try to follow love's example. All are welcome in this place. All are blessed with heavenly grace.
Our reading this morning is by the poet and spoken word artist Kyle Tran Meyer from Minneapolis, Minnesota. And it's from his terrifically titled book, Not a Lot of Reasons to Sing, But Enough. And it's called, Why Do You Write Poems When Death Is All Around? Why do you write poems when death is all around us? Because my eyesight isn't very good, and that makes for a short-lived mercenary or militia fighter, but is perfect for an artist because I can't see the audience well enough to get nervous. Why do you write poems when death is all around us? Because of simple mathematics. With a blade in my hand, what are my odds against a hungry bandit? With a poem on my tongue, though, maybe I can visit a village and make a child laugh. Maybe that child sleeps through the night with no nightmares. Maybe his older sister then also sleeps through the night because she doesn't have to wake up to comfort her brother. Maybe then, later in the day, she will go for a walk by the river instead of needing to take a nap. Maybe she will discover a secret bloom of mushrooms and the whole village will have a great feast. Maybe a man, who in another story would have been a hungry bandit, attends the feast, eats until he is full, and dances until he is delirious. And look at me, I've killed a bandit. Simple mathematics. Why do you write poems when death is all around us? Because death is all around us. Because life is all around us too. For the whisper of a possibility that it might matter. For the fun of it, if it doesn't. Look around us. Look all around us. How every poem, every story pulls just a bit more at the shroud. Don't you want to see what's underneath? So if you've been following along, which no offense if you have not, I've been preaching some sermons about places and some stories from the desert, stories from the swamps. And today is the Heartland. I grew up in Dayton, Ohio, because it's where the rivers meet. And the reason I grew up where the rivers meet was because my father had job prospects there, and in a place that is the opposite of the rivers meeting, Las Vegas. And my mother, deeply wise, was convinced even in the 1990s that living in a place without abundant, naturally occurring sources of potable water was not a good plan. And Dayton, Ohio, in contrast, is a city where 5 rivers meet. The Great Miami River, Mad River, Stillwater River, Wolf Creek, and Twin Creek. A state called Ohio, that depending on the history you read and the exact translations comes maybe from the word for great river in Seneca. I used to feel kind of embarrassed to be from Dayton, Ohio. At the Model United Nations conferences in Chicago when I was a teenager, people from all across the country would say, "Ooh, are you from Daytona?" Or because I went to a high school called the Miami Valley School, "Are you from Miami?" Oh no, that would be Dayton, Ohio, home to the Great Miami River and where 5 meet. And even after more than 15 years of living in the greater Boston area, the heartland of the United States is the region of America that I feel in many ways most spiritually connected to. I was born in St. Paul, Minnesota. I went to high school in Dayton, not Daytona, Ohio. Went back to Minnesota for college. And Wisconsin is where my father immigrated to when he came to the United States, where his family was sponsored by total strangers who opened their home to him through refugee resettlement programs that now no longer are funded. Wisconsin was where my dad got his first job as a janitor, where he went to community college, undergrad, medical school. Wisconsin was where my parents met. And the family lore goes that my grandparents were in a refugee camp in Guam, and they were asked whether they wanted to go to South Dakota or California. And people said, "Pick South Dakota. It has the word South in it, so it will be warmer." After a brief stint in South Dakota, they moved to California. I have a shirt that my mom got me, part of a fundraiser for the Ohio Organizing Collaborative, that says on it, "The Midwest has something to say." And it is a place, like all places, of many, many contradictions and tensions. Home to deeply racist, transphobic, anti-immigrant, anti-child, anti-human laws and policies. And also home to thriving communities, immigrant communities, indigenous communities, Black communities, and many, many, many leaders in the struggle for a more just world. The Midwest is where Michael Brown's murder in Ferguson, Missouri, and George Floyd's murder in Minneapolis, Minnesota, did not go quietly, but instead ignited those cities and truly the world to call for an end to the murder of Black people by police. It's where the resistance at Standing Rock taught generations that water is life, and that we can meet fossil fuel domination and climate change with resistance, protest, and prayer. And it's where Rashida Tlaib, Cori Bush, Nina Turner, Ilhan Omar, and so many became leaders in their own communities, ran for office, won, and show the world to this day that it's possible to be an elected leader with uncompromising morals, possible to be a Black woman leader, a Palestinian woman leader, unbowed, unbroken. And it's where I first really learned about protest as a teenager, standing in the median near the strip mall near my house with signs against the so-called Defense of Marriage Act and in support of the LGBTQ community. When I think of the Midwest, I think of these vast, vast tensions. And maybe it's just me, but I feel like each day is vast, vast tensions. Like a whole year can happen from when the sun rises to when the sun sets. And that months of emotions can fly by in a second. And just this morning was talking with someone here about how impossible it is to even say, "How are you this morning?" How many words have to be said or not said to contain all that is part of our lives. I don't have to tell you all of the horrific things that are happening. And also, I woke up this morning. Yes, it was cold, but the sun was shining. I hugged my kiddo, had a really, really good cup of decaf coffee. And that is the life that is true for so many of us. Joy smashed up against grief, pleasures smashed up next to violence, comfort alongside despair. We laugh with friends, we hear incredible music, we savor a book, we go to an incredible young adult spiritual retreat, and then remember a loved one we've lost. We see the image of a dead child in Gaza. We see the aftermath of bombs in Yemen paid for with our tax dollars. We hear about someone recently deported. We go out for dinner, and then we sneak a glance at our phone, and we find that yet again the president has said or done another unspeakably harmful thing, that ICE has been spotted in our neighborhood, or that wildfires or tornadoes are raging. A loved one is illegally fired or loses their grant funding, and someone else gets their dream job. Yet another horrific anti-trans bill becomes law, and a young person comes out for the first time. One of the ways I'm trying to live these huge tensions is by gathering the wisdom of the many who have held them over time. I turn to the essay by the writer Indi Samrajiva, an essay called "I Lived Through Collapse, America is Already There," where Samrajiva talks about his experiences living through the devastation and mundanity of the Sri Lankan Civil War. He writes, "I lived through the end of a civil war. I moved back to Sri Lanka in my 20s, just as the ceasefire fell apart. Do you know what it was like for me? Quite normal," he says. "I went to work, I went out, I dated." This is how it happens, precisely what you're feeling now. The numbing litany of bad news, the ever-rising outrages, people suffering, dying, and protesting all around while you think about dinner. He says, what you're feeling is exactly how it feels. It's Saturday, and you're thinking about food while the world is on fire. This is normal. This is life during collapse. I think of my own father, who was born amidst bombs dropping over Vietnam, and my own birth shortly after the death of my mother's beloved grandmother. And somehow for me, the Midwest, as a place that contains so many opposing things, so many tensions, helps me understand how it can all exist at once. In the 1800s, Ohio was the border. It was the border between free states to the north and states where slavery was still legal to the south. And the Ohio River, the Great River, demarcated freedom. Due to the Fugitive Slave Act, which allowed formerly enslaved people to be hunted, even in free states, and criminalized aid to them, it turned Ohio into a dangerous place for self-emancipated people and those who would help. The Underground Railroad Museum is in Cincinnati, Ohio, an hour from my parents' house. And there are ravines where self-emancipated people hid coming north that are part of the park system there. Paul Laurence Dunbar, who wrote our opening words, was a poet born in 1872 to two formerly enslaved people from Kentucky. His memory is much loved and revered in Dayton, schools and streets named after him. Dunbar began writing while he was in high school in Dayton. He was the only African-American student in his class. He became the president of the school literary society, the editor of the school paper. He wanted to be a lawyer, but it was difficult to pursue that career path due to his mother's financial situation. So he looked for jobs and was rejected from many because of his race. And he finally found work as an elevator operator, a job that allowed him a little bit of time to continue writing while he operated the elevators. One of his most famous poems was drawn from his experience day after day after day in the elevator. He wrote, "I know why the caged bird sings, ah, me, when his wing is bruised and his bosom sore, when he beats his bars and he would be free. It is not a carol of joy or glee, but a prayer that he sends from his heart's deep core, but a plea that upward to heaven he flings. I know why the caged bird sings." Words that Maya Angelou, of course, borrowed from her memoir. The words from our reading ask, why do you write poems when death is all around us? Paul Laurence Dunbar wrote poems to express his experience. The power, pain, tenderness, hope, fear, humanity of his experience as a Black Ohioan who wanted to write. Last weekend, the Dayton, Ohio Philharmonic Orchestra performed composer Joel Stevens' 7 Last Words of the Unarmed, a beautifully poignant, somber work inspired by the final words of 7 Black men, some of them Midwesterners: Michael Brown Jr., Kenneth Chamberlain Sr., John Crawford III, Amadou Diallo, Eric Gardner, Oscar Grant III, and Trayvon Martin. John Crawford III was murdered by police in 2014 at the Walmart a few miles from where my parents still live. Someone had called 911 and told dispatchers that a Black man was holding a rifle. John Crawford was holding a BB gun sold in Walmart that he had picked up off the shelf. Ohio was Crawford's home, Dunbar's home, and mine. Death and poetry, injustice and healing, music and heartbreak, beauty and brokenness, all up against each other. The rapper Atmosphere, also from Minneapolis, has a song that's an ode to the Midwest, a retort to those who mock cornfields and flyover country. He says, "This is for everyone around the planet that wishes they were from somewhere other than where they're standing." He says, "Don't take it for granted. Take a look around. Quit complaining and build something on that ground. Plant something on that ground. Dance and sleep on that ground. Get on your hands and knees and watch the ants walk around that ground. Make a family. Make magic. Make a mess." My parents are in some ways the embodiment of quit complaining and build something on that ground. And they're inextricable to how I think about the Midwest and what the Midwest is trying to say. They have been part of the protest and response to Crawford's murder, the sit-ins and die-ins and the silent marches and the vigils. Ohio is an open carry state, and there are always armed white supremacists at these gatherings. Year after year, my parents' garage is filled with election signs from progressive candidates they support. Almost none of them win. And my parents refused to stop supporting them, refused to give up. Just recently told me, "We're going to another meeting, we're running someone else." During the pandemic, or at the beginning of the pandemic, their garage overnight was filled with donated food as it became a hub for mutual aid food distribution for specifically undocumented folks that were carved out of pandemic relief resources. When so much in our own lives and the life of the world is uncertain, crushing, despairing, and we are humans holding that weight side by side with, yes, the pleasures, the joys, the peace of the dove that we are also entitled to. For me, the Midwest says it can all exist at once. It can be endless strip malls and inhumane attacks on people's rights. And it can also be freedom, powerful resistance, song, poetry. You may know that at a town hall in February with our very non-Midwestern Senator Elizabeth Warren, one of the attendees asked, "Is there a red line that would cause New England to secede from the United States?" And Senator Warren said, "I'm not giving up the Constitution of the United States. We stay and we fight and we don't give them anything." There is wisdom all over the map, from the South to the swamps I spoke about last time I preached here, to the Midwest. I think we all know this, but I would be remiss as someone who has the title activist theologian in residence before my name if I did not say what I do believe to be true this morning. This is a time to stay and fight. There is a role for each and every one of us. Some of us have been playing those roles for a long time and have so much wisdom to share. Our resistance may be in our workplace, in the streets, in the boardroom, the classroom. It may be passing down cultural practices under threat. It may be providing housing to a family that needs it, like this congregation has done that Cade shared about. It may be unapologetically living our authentic lives as queer people, as people of color, as disabled people, as immigrants. Many of you, as I look out at your faces, are engaged in work of resistance, work of transforming the world. If you came here this morning and you are overwhelmed and you are not sure how to build something on this ground, know that there are people who are happy to share where they have found a place. We won't all find the same place. It won't all be the same place, I know that, especially as the mother of a 2-year-old. We will all have different places, but we do all have a place. Raise your hand if you're someone who is part of resistance work in some way that you are willing to share about. Look around. Those are some people, if you're not sure how to build something on this ground, those are people who are willing to share what they are doing right now. Thank you. The poet says, "Death is all around us. Life is all around us too." The poet says, "For the whisper of a possibility that it might matter, for the fun of it if it doesn't." Look all around us. Look all around us. How every poem, every story pulls just a bit more at the shroud. Don't you want to see what's underneath? For me, Dayton, Ohio, the place where the 5 rivers meet, the place where Paul Laurence Dunbar became a poet, the place where John Crawford III's life ended far, far too early and is now a beautiful piece of music. That is a place that teaches me that it is all one. Our joy, our sorrow, our resistance, our rest. Look all around us. Death is all around, and life is too. Amen.